Hello, girls. Today we're going to attempt a short analysis of The Dance of the Eunuchs by Kamla Das. I gave you a small introduction of the poet last Monday, and we talked about and we saw that how Kamla Das is basically a feminist writer and a very important feminist writer at that, especially of the post independence era. Now, Kamala Das is mostly known for her bold and extremely sexual poems. Okay, this one is all about how a woman, or rather a transgender, a eunuch is basically a transgender, how they feel and how they are marginalized, how they are alienated from the society. Okay, so let's just attempt a small analysis of the poem. It's a very short poem. We'll try to see what Das is talking about here. Okay, it was hot, so hot before the eunuchs came to dance, white skirts going round and round, cymbals richly clashing, and anklets jingling, jingling, jingling beneath the fiery gulmohar. In the first four lines itself, she establishes this thing that the setting where the eunuchs are dancing, the atmosphere around is hot. And in such a heat, the eunuchs come and they're dancing. They're wearing white skirts, which are supposed to attract people by their colors and their lengths and the girth of the skirt, and they go round and round. They're also using cymbals which are richly clashing and producing music to attract people. They're creating sounds around to attract everyone. And anklets, they're wearing jewelry which is also producing sound. She uses the word jingling, 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 and she uses it thrice to give that rhythmic effect to the poem also. Beneath the fiery gulmohar. So they are apparently dancing under a gulmohar tree. Why does she use the word fiery for gulmohar? Because gulmohar's leaves, they turn red, they turn amber, they turn all of these bright colors, and that's why she uses the adjective fiery for gulmohar. With long braids flying, dark eyes flashing, they danced and they danced. Oh, they danced till they bled. Again, by emphasizing on one phrase, one word again and again, Das sort of establishes the intensity of this dance. Okay, so she says that they have long braids which are flying here and there when they dance. Of course, the braids are flying in the air. They have dark eyes which are flashing. Probably they are crying. They have this really dark makeup on their eyes, heavy coal lidded eyes, and that's why they are flashing against their skin. Okay, they danced and they danced. Oh, they danced till they bled. So they're dancing with such intensity that they're almost on the verge of bleeding out. So their dance is so intense, so passionate, that they're not stopping, they're not putting a break to it. They will bleed if they dance like this continuously. There were green tattoos on their cheeks, jasmines in their hair. Some were dark and some were almost fair. Now she gives you the description of their skin. So she says there were green tattoos on their cheek. So apparently they have different kind of shapes tattooed on their cheeks, and this ink, the ink that they have used for tattooing these shapes on their cheeks, is green. Again, they have used this to attract attention of the people around, the society around. Okay, they have jasmines in their hair. Jasmine is essentially a flower which is known for its smell. It's extreme smell, its extreme fragrance. So if a jasmine is anywhere lying around, it is very difficult for you to ignore that fragrance. That's why they put jasmines in their hair, so that wherever they walk, wherever they are going, it will be hard to ignore them. So they will have your attention no matter where they are. Some were dark and some were almost fair. Now half of these are have dark skin, whereas some of them have fair skin too. Okay. Their voices were harsh, their songs melancholy. They sang of lovers dying and or children left unborn. Now their voices were harsh. Their voices were not sweet. They were singing, but their voices were harsh because they have both masculine and feminine characters. So although their appearance is extremely feminine, their voices give away their masculine nature too. So their voices were harsh, their songs melancholy, melancholy meaning sad and depressive. So their songs were tragic. Their songs were not happy songs. They were not celebrating something. They were in fact singing of tragedy. And what tragedy? They sang of lovers dying and or children left unborn. They are singing of dying lovers whose love haven't been fulfilled and children which were never born. Now please realize this thing, that they are singing of those things which they can never have. As transgenders, they cannot really have a normal love story because they are incapable of physical love as such. They are incapable of getting intimate with somebody, physically intimate with somebody. So their love isn't acknowledged. If they fall in love with somebody, there are high chances that their love will not be reciprocated, it will not be returned. And children left unborn. Again, transgenders are sterile, so they cannot give birth to children. And this is the reason that their children, even if they dream of having a child, they cannot give birth to a child, and hence children are left unborn. Some beat their drums, others beat their sorry breasts, and wailed and writhed in vacant ecstasy. Some beat their drums. So there were those who had drums and they were beating those drums. And others beat their sorry breasts. Others were beating their sorry breasts. Why are the breasts sorry? The breasts are sorry because, again, their breasts are useless to them. They will not serve any purpose. Neither will they ever indulge in physical love. So no male will get fascinated. No man will ever touch their breasts with a loving attention, with an intimate emotion. Neither will they ever have children to feed from their breasts. So their breasts are useless, and that's why they're sorry breasts. They might even be deformed as such. So some of them are beating their drums and others are beating their sorry breasts, and wailed and writhed in vacant ecstasy. So they're wailing, they're shouting, they're singing, trying to sing. Now they're in a very different zone. Their songs, their dance have taken them in a vacant ecstasy. They are in a trance-like state, but that trance is not happy. There is a vacancy. That ecstasy is neither happy nor tragic nor sad nor depressed. It's just vacant. There is no feeling in there. It's empty. It's a void. And it is this empty trance that they have entered into. They were thin in limbs and dry, like half-burnt logs from funeral pyres. A draught and a rottenness were in each of them. So the poet further goes on describing their appearance. They were thin in limbs. So they had thin limbs. Limbs are hands and legs. And dry. Dry as in it did not seem like they had any energy in those limbs as such. Like half-burnt logs from funeral pyres. Their limbs were so thin and dry, as in the skin was drying out, and it looked as if they are the logs which are used on funeral pyres. Funeral pyres, which we find, when a person dies, you take them on a funeral pyre, and they look like logs taken from those funeral pyres, which are half burnt. They're not completely burnt, they're half burnt. A draught and a rottenness were in each of them. So there was a sense of decay that you can feel from them. A draught meaning a dryness, an aridity, and a rottenness. Some element of decay were in each of them. So there was nothing alive, there was nothing fresh about them. In fact, all that you could see was something which was dying, something which was on the verge of death. Even the crows were so silent on trees, and the children wide-eyed still. All were watching these poor creatures' convulsions. So now she goes on to describe the audience of these eunuchs. There are the crows. The crows who are never silent were silent on the trees now, okay? So even the birds, the crows, the most craftiest of birds are silent. It's almost as if they are also participating in the mourning of these poor creatures. And the children wide-eyed still. For the children, they don't understand why these creatures are wailing, but they can understand that there's something wrong here, that there's something weird, and that is surprising to them, that is shocking to them. That shock is almost visible on their faces because of their wide eyes. Still, they were still and they were wide-eyed, and that's why they are in shock. They don't understand what is going on here. All were watching these poor creatures' convulsions. She uses the word convulsions for their dancing steps. Why? Because their dance is not a beautiful dance. It is a rant, almost a rant. They are venting out their sad feelings. They are venting out the fact that they are marginalized to that extent that they're reduced to dancing to attract the other humans' attentions around them, right? So they are basically ranting out. Look, they are dancing to earn money, to earn livelihood. But it is also a way for them to express their agony, the pain that they go through, the suffering that they are going through. That's why she uses the word convulsions. The sky crackled then, thunder came and lightning, and rain, a meager rain that smelt of dust in attics and the urine of lizards and mice. The sky crackled then, thunder came and lightning, and then the sky crackled, the atmosphere changed, and the rain started pouring in. A meager rain that smelt of dust. Now, this rain is also not a very happy thing to happen, because when the rain falls, they had to stop their dance, and if they had to stop their dance, then they will not be able to earn any money. So for many people there, the rain came as a blessing because it was so hot. But for these particular group of people, the transgenders, the eunuchs, this was a curse because it smelt of dust. The rain washed the dust away, but with it also brought the smell of attics and the urine of lizards and mice. Look at the way she is making it a very negative thing. She's turning the rain, she's giving you the pejorative connotation of rain, and she's saying this thing that the heat was fine for the eunuchs, but the rain, despite of bringing relief for a lot of people, did not bring anything good for the eunuchs. Okay, so this is a very short analysis of the poem that we have attempted today. Please go through the lecture once again, go through the poem once again, try finding out your own observations, your own inferences of the poem. We will discuss the poem further. We'll do a deeper analysis of the poem, a more critical analysis of the poem in our next class. Till then, please go through the poem once again and note down your doubts and your questions and your observations. Thank you.